Welcome to Recovering Your Voice. My name's Bonnie.
And I'm Carol Ann.
And I'm Colette.
And today we are so pleased to have with us someone who I have known for years and watched as she has invested in her talent. Uh, Welcome, Catherine Gravelle. Catherine, it's so good to have you here with us. And today we want to hear all about your music, and how you have worked on that. Tell us how you got started with music.
Um, well, I think it has always been, since I was little growing up, music has always been part of my family. So, and it's always been, I remember being 4 years old and having a cousin sleepover. There was about six of us. And we started just writing these songs about Jesus. And I remember a song, it was called The Lovers of God Are a Part of God's Family. I remember it like, I could still sing it to you and I won't, but we had made this song when I was like four and we sang it to our parents. And just then it was like, I always knew that I had there was always something about a lyric or something. There was always a song running through my head or I was always writing, even though, even just going through life, it was always there. Music was there and lyric writing was always, part of the journey. Um, and then I just grew up, I guess, being musically involved with my parents through the mission. And I ended up, I remember, I don't know, I was probably 13 and I watched two movies. So I watched Selena and Sister Act. And so this has just been, I never thought like in a million years I would ever pursue any kind of music. I just thought that it was like a pipe dream. It was just, something that is um, like not, it was just novice. You don't dream that, when you grow up you're supposed to be responsible and have a career, you have kids, you have a family. So I had all of these ideas of what my life was supposed to look like, and that dream kind of just sat there and I would just kind of do it on the side, push it to the side. And anyway, I remember watching Sister Act and thinking like, uh Whoopi Goldberg, she's like, when you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing you think of? And then she tells the girl, she's like, that is what you were meant to do. And I'm like, no. So I'm like, why would you put such a big dream inside of me? So I remember thinking like, I just want to do this. I want to sing. I always envisioned myself singing on big stages in front of so many people. And I kept thinking like, okay, push it down. You're not that big of a person to like be singing in front of people, so it just kind of pushed it down. And then when I watched Selena, the little girl, when she was singing on the stage at the restaurant, I'm like, right away, I knew, I'm like, this is what I want. Like, I want a restaurant and I want to sing on stages. And it was always just there. So when in school, when it came time to do, when they sit you down for careers and you're in grade 12 or grade 13, I don't think they have grade 13 anymore, but anyway, in grade 12, um, they're like, okay, Catherine, what do you want to do? I'm like, okay, well, just, there was no music, there was no school music program then, like back at Cambria and Laurentian. So I'm like, okay, I'm like, just put me down for hotel and restaurant management. They're like, yeah, but you need three options. I'm like, there are no other options. This is this is it. If I don't get into this, then I'll take a year off and we'll try again next year. And so I went on to do that, hotel and restaurant management. And then of course, I think when I hit into my 20s or so, I thought, okay, you know what? Like, it was like something told me like I needed to grow up. So it was time to just have a family. It was time to like get married. It's time to have a family, build a house. So I was at a stage in my life where I just felt like I needed to start building those things and to stop dreaming. So I took a path that way where it was like um, trying to uh, kind of putting the dreams on hold and just trying to be responsible. Um, and and that took me down an entirely different road filled with lots of lessons, and it just brought me right back to my dreams, back to owning my restaurant and back into music. Like it's just like it's even I think sometimes of Moses where it's like he's like they're 40 years in the desert and you just he knew the end result of like, okay, the promised land is over there. He didn't know how to get there, didn't know how long it was going to take, but you know what? It always came back to this is the goal, this is the dream, this is, and he knew. And I guess after about, I don't know, it could be like 10 or 15 years of like taking a different path, it was like, no, it's woo, it just like just unraveled right back into the same path. So now I'm like, okay, you know what, Jesus, I hear you. So, you know, what are we doing? So that's kind of how the whole um, music thing had started. You know, it's always been there, and then it was just a matter of accepting it and feeding it and growing it.
That's wonderful. That is what you've been doing. And obviously you're multi-talented with your restaurant and your music. And we have seen in your life, I have observed how you were talking about watching that movie, Sister Act. I didn't see Selena, but I can see how that has, in a sense, developed that story in your life. Do you think that your music has been influenced by other musicians, other even genres? I don't know if you stick to a certain genre. Share with us who has influenced your music.
So I guess as far as influences, I would say it wasn't until I came across Kim Walker that I realized I was always kind of certain. I never knew exactly where I fit in, like even genre. And I didn't want to be like, I didn't want to be judgmental towards even secular music because there's some really excellent music out there. So I wasn't sure, um, like, I wasn't sure which avenue to go into. Do I want to just do Christian music? Or because I write about life. Like my songs are about they're real. And you know what? Sometimes the reality of what a person is going through sometimes is not accepted in the Christian culture. So it was like I was bouncing back and forth between, I'm not sure, does this fit in a secular culture, even though it's clean? Does it fit into Christian? This doesn't really fit there. So I kind of struggled with that. And then, so when I heard Kim Walker, and then I felt right away like there was a realness and an authenticity about the culture that she had inside of her, like the Jesus culture. That's hilarious. I think I just caught on to that after like 15 years of knowing her, but that's what it is. It was a Jesus culture inside of her where I could tell like there's something about the lyrics and the music that it was messy, like human life messy, but it was so powerful. The Holy Spirit was on it. And I just thought, God, finally, like, because I had spent my entire life searching for this thing that I feel that is inside of me. And I just didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know how to create it. And so when Kim Walker came out, I was like, oh, yes, okay. So I felt like there was like this element of freedom where I was allowed to express my messiness with my godliness. And together, that is what is great, you know? So, and then after Kim Walker, then it was like Stephanie Gretzinger, Jeremy Riddle, Amanda Cook, Brian and Jen Johnson. So it wasn't about the music at that point. It was about the culture. Because when I'm writing life stories, and it's always about my culture. It's always the culture. So I just became attracted to people who were authentic and real, who were writing about life's messiness, plus about the goodness of God and how you get through it. And that's kind of the journey that took me on it. So I would say those people, and then Francesca Battistelli. I liked her style. Also, Jeremy Camp. I kind of like the rocky edginess of that. So I think I took all of that into perspective. And then on the opposite spectrum on the secular end, I was like, I really liked Pink because I liked her raw, like, I mean, she's got some vulgar language going on there, but I liked her raw authenticity. I liked her expression and her freedom in her writing. Yeah, so I would say that's probably the people that influenced me, but not influenced me in a way that um, I wanted to be like them, but influenced me in a way that I was allowed to be myself. I was allowed to write in my authentic ways and in my creativity. So I didn't want to be like them, but their authenticity allowed me to be authentic and free in my own style. So yeah.
Okay, Catherine, you were talking about messiness, and I've heard some say that music is like a therapy. So have you been able to observe that your music has helped you to get through even the messiness, and writing your songs and sharing them has been part of your journey of getting beyond it? What has been your experience?
Well, writing my songs has always, and I'm actually just still processing this the emotional experience of writing, because writing has always been an outlet for me where I felt like I couldn't share my emotions, or where it wasn't appropriate to share. Not appropriate as in not allowed, but just there's some emotions where you just gotta kind of like, okay, you got to work it out on your own. So writing has just been um, yeah, a place where I can, it's just a safe place for me. So where I can just unleash. And then it does, as I'm writing it, usually before I write a song, it's like I go through months of process it just in my head, just in life. It's always processing. I don't ever just sit down and write a song. It's like months of life process. So when I get there and I get to that point inside of me where it's like, okay, this needs to come out, that's when the paper comes, and it's like a 5 minute song, and all of a sudden it comes out, and I look at it and I realize the season that I've been in, and then after I'm finished writing it, that when I start singing it over myself, this is when I start realizing the hurt or whatever it is that I need to release. And then it takes me, my songs, after I sing them to myself for a good, I don't know, sometimes it takes a season where I'm just singing my songs personally, where it almost leads me even sometimes to a place, well, always to a place of repentance, to be able to grow. So I would say they always take me, I'm like in the valley, and then I'm on the mountain when I write the song. It's like, yes, there's freedom here. I'm on the mountain. I'm in a place of repentance, and I'm just going from glory to glory. And then all of a sudden, when the song is written, I'm like back down into the valley, because and I'm not saying the valley is not a bad thing. It's that place where you're constantly growing, where you're constantly searching, and he's always giving, like, yeah, I guess that's what it is. I'm constantly growing. So with the songs, there's always truth and revelation when I write a song, and I have to sing it over myself after. It was like the Lord has just put it on paper for me to be able to sing it over myself. And as I sing it, then the truth comes out, and then it leads me to repentance, and then I move on in life, and I just keep doing life, and then I go back up the mountain, back down the mountain, and how this is the process. So it's definitely an emotional, it's emotional therapy for me, but and it's also a healing process. But just to say that that is the only tool that I use for healing, I would have to say definitely not. So just to give sort of an example, so right now I'm in the studio, and I'm finally recording an album. Okay, and so I'm recording the song Superwoman, and my friend, the person recording it, he's just become such a safe place for me to be able to release any emotion. So like writing it and singing it by myself is fine, but singing my emotions in front of other people is totally different. It's a different atmosphere. So I'm recording this song, and he's like, Catherine, I just want to ask you something. I'm like, okay, like feel free, like what give me suggestions. I'm all up for the suggestions. And he's like, when I hear this song Superwoman, I'm hearing that you have taken on all of this responsibility, and that you're at a point in your life where you're taking your power back, where you don't want to comply to this stuff anymore, and you're taking your power back. He's like, but your emotion, like, he's like, well, express that. I'm like, well, I don't know how. I think sometimes in the Christian culture, being angry or having a negative emotion can sometimes not be um, accepted. So I've really learned to not have negative emotions, even though I think that's where I put them on paper, but to allow them to just release and to fully heal is a struggle. So that's why I say I'm still going through that up and down mountain of like, what is enough anger? What is enough emotion? Where to put it? And so he said, okay, we're gonna go back. I want you to record this section of the song, and I want you to clench your fists together, and I want you to be angry about it. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Okay, so we did. So I went and I did the second verse to the song, and I clenched my fists together, and all of a sudden I was just so angry, and it came out. And Dustin is like, um, he's like, there, that is exactly what you needed to do. You needed to express that anger. You needed to release it, to let it out. And he's like, so then he walked me through the entire song saying, okay, now you're at the bridge part. So now you're free from all of this. So how are you feeling? And then he's like, Kat, I want you to put your hands up in the air. I want you to feel the sun on your face. So he's bringing me through these emotional elements of like, I can write a song, I can put it on paper, but when it comes to releasing these emotions, that is where I haven't been able to really express myself. And going in the studio with him and him being there to help work this out with me has just been an amazing healing tool. So I left there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had a therapy session plus a recording session. Like, this night does not get any better. Like, and I'm like, and it was like almost like it was like cheaper than therapy. So we laughed about it because it was so healing. But I guess just to say that, like, yes, my music is definitely therapy, but I really truly with all my heart believe that you need other people, other safe people surrounding you to draw out those other aspects of you that you don't even know are there.
That's so good. So rich. Catherine, years ago, I've known you for years, and I remember years ago having a dream about you, where you were spending time investing in your gift. And I knew in the dream that, of course, your gift was going to be developing, but I could see that it was important that you were doing this, investing in your talent. I've heard it said that, for instance, writers, they need to write every day, and sometimes they use it as a discipline. They say to themselves, I need to write, and I'm going to at least write an hour a day. Do you find that you have needed a similar, structure or a similar discipline for investing in your talent?
I have definitely invested in my talent. I wouldn't necessarily say that it would be strictly in like taking an hour a day to write. I do agree. I think you do definitely need to have a plan. I have like, and that I'm always working on. I would say on the dream or the purpose daily. So, so recently I took. It's been a year, so I decided the Lord kind of led me through a lot of many years of just growing within myself. But um, last year, like during COVID, so last year, so when my cafe was severely affected by COVID, it took me on a different journey with the Lord where I stopped working. I just took time. I took 3 or 4 months to myself in my house just to try to get perspective. All of a sudden, I got an email from somebody who says, do you want to be an extra in a Hallmark movie? And I thought, you know what? This is going to be fun. Let's do this. So I did. So I went and I am all about Christmas. I love Christmas so much. And I always think that is because it brings me, it's the closeness of like Jesus. I'm always looking to be close to him. And so when I think of Christmas, I think of Jesus, I think of the spirit, right? So anyway, I spent 13 hours on this Christmas set. I met these beautiful people, and I just thought, oh my goodness, God, you have blessed me with like this just came to me. I didn't go knocking on this door. The door opened and I took it because I needed something fun. And after that, I had another opportunity. So I ended up working on 3 Hallmark movies last year, just because the door became available. And I loved every second of it. I loved every second of, from the camera angles to the people to how everything works. It was like, I was just so inside of it. I just wanted to know all about it. And then I just thought, okay, this is when God really just started pushing my dreams, like, and I'm like, well, at that point, I felt like this was the time to take the chance and to pursue what I was called to do. And I struggled with that because I have a family and I'm single, 3 kids, and and then I have a cafe and I have a lot of responsibilities, and this is not the time. I'm thinking in my head, like, I'm thinking realistically and responsibly. This is not the time to be like pursuing anything like this. Like, I didn't want to go in debt. I didn't want any of that stuff. Didn't want my kids, my family to suffer. So anyway, but God just kept pressing on me about it. And just to go back about 20 years ago, I don't know if you are all familiar with Ivan and Isabel. They prophesied. I remember at New Life, the church in Chelmsford. I was there when I'm like, I mean, I was like 20 and I'm thinking, God, because my career path has always been an issue, because I just thought that the dream that I had inside is too big for a little person like me, and this cannot really be real. So I remember I'm like, I'm going to Ivan and Isabel, and they're going to explain to me. They're going to tell me. It was about careers and dreams. So I'm like, they're going to tell me what I need to do. So I go there, and Isabel's like, I'll never forget this prophecy. She's like, every door that you go to, she's like, I see a hallway and there are many doors. You can choose any door you want, and all of those doors are going to be open for you. You can have any career you want. You're going to be good at it all. And I'm thinking, woman, no, like, this is not what I wanted to hear. Like, I wanted you to tell me which door to go through. I wanted you to make it easy for me, because I have just such a passion, a richness for just life in general, and just, I'm in love with life, everything about life. And I wanted her to make it easy. So what happens is that from 20 years old, and I just turned 39, for 19 years, I have been traveling through life, like, just trying to figure out, like, okay, what do I love? What is not for me? What is not, and just going back and forth. And it's not until just now where I started doing the Hallmark movies, I realized, okay, you know what? Like, I know what I want to do. So September, I went back to Laurentian University. So now I'm back in school full time. I'm taking English literature, media, and writing. Like you said, like just going back to your question, is that I don't make it a point to write specifically every day, because I'm not just called to writing. Like, the Lord has called me into this entire media area, which I suck with media, so I have no idea how this is going down. But it's like, I'm just letting him do his thing, because like, but I love the movies and I love to write, and so I've made it a point that to invest myself fully into this area. So the full-time school plus the full-time kids is a lot, but I always make it a point. So I'm always in the studio recording once a week or every second week. I am, and then of course I'm writing constantly in school, things that I don't care to write, to be perfectly honest. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'd rather be writing a song. But I guess it's helped me grow in structure, which I really, really appreciate, because I think you need a balance of structure and creativity to make something work. Yeah. So I don't write every day, but what I do play every single day. And this has just become, it's usually after dinner when my kids are settled, they're watching a show. I will go on the piano and I will just play all my songs, and then I'll just play worship songs and just take that time. Me and God are still working out like the kinks of like my the focal point of where my career is going, and I have no idea. So my prayer actually put the cloud on me, the cloud by day that Moses had, that you would just lead him, and then the fire by night. Because to be quite honest, I don't know. I know that, the goal is to, at some point, I'm hoping that my music, I'm hoping that I can make a career with writing and music and movies. I don't know what it all looks like. I'm hoping that that could be it, but just, wherever you want me at this point, like, I'm here, and I'm fully all in. I'm available, and and yeah, so I guess I'm growing myself. Any opportunity that I have to take, whether it be like even like, because I take acting classes, so in my modeling class, like, there's just any opportunity in this area that where I'm investing in myself in. So whereas, like, from age 20 to 39, I was investing myself in everything because I couldn't figure out that one place. And now at least I know that I have, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I guess really, what I can say for sure is that when you know that you know that you know you're supposed to be here, you don't quit. No matter how many times you feel like quitting, because I mean, I've thought of quitting so many times. It's so hard, but when you know, you just you find it, you find a way to keep going through it. So that's why I know I'm where I'm supposed to be. I don't know what it looks like past this. All I know is that I need to get my music out and I need to write. But past today, honestly, I'm just going where the cloud goes and where the fire goes, because I'm just, it's one step at a time.
Catherine, if you could somehow go back to a young you to encourage yourself, what would you say to you with the wisdom that you have learned up till now?
I would say to not be afraid. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be afraid to fail, because failing is part of growing. And I've the last 5 years with, just, there's been so many ups and downs with the cafe, and I just beat myself up with the whole failure thing. It's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy when you have an expectation of where you want something to go, and it doesn't go there. And I think it takes you on I think it just takes you on an internal personal journey. And my dad, like, I mean, I've had a lot of failing things. I haven't failed at everything, but just in general. And my dad would say, you know what, Kat, this is going to pass. This is going to pass. And it was just really, really hard, like, to sit in the failure, sitting in that aspect of failure. It can be a very dark place. And it's easier, I think, it's easier sometimes just to go and get the 9 to 5 job. And because I've tried it, I've went and I thought, you know what, in just the failure of my divorce, then the cafe, and then COVID, in between all of that stuff, I just thought, okay, you know what, it's just like, it's easier just to get the 9 to 5 job. It's easier to have the steady paycheck. It's easier to have the consistency than to actually look at where you have had that, where you have lack, to actually, or where you don't have lack, where somebody else has lack, to actually look at the situation for what it is, and then to realize that your worth never changed, and that you need to stand up, and you need to be the woman that you are, because your worth never ever changes, even in the failure. And people can sit in that, and they can let that hover over them for the rest of their lives. And it is not an easy thing, standing up, and to be able to stand up and say, okay, I'm still worth it, and it's a very vulnerable place to be, to stand up, because everybody's looking at you. I just think, and then I'm from a small town, and it's like, when I see people, I'm like, they all know what's going on in my life, and to be able to stand up, and to be able to just straighten my crown, my culture crown that Jesus has given me, and said, this is who I am. Nothing has changed here. I have grown. I have become a better person. I've become more loving. I've become more kind. And so I guess to my younger self, I would say, you keep the crown on, because you are always, a princess to Jesus. And I would also say, stay in the word and know who you are, get to know yourself, and don't worry about making the messes. And because you're going to as you're trying to get to know yourself, you're either being influenced by somebody else or by your surroundings, or you're getting to know yourself, and you're going to make messes getting to know yourself. And that is okay. Find safe people you can make messes around, because you want to know who you are. You want to know who Jesus says about you, because if you're not grounded in that, then you are going to have so many ups and downs about your value and your worth and your identity. And just so I would just say to my younger self, you know what, girl, you just get grounded. Get grounded in what Jesus says about you, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says. And you straighten your crown, and every time you fail, you get back up, you learn, you grow. And what it does, it builds understanding, it builds wisdom, it builds character. And Jesus, this is the stuff, this is the stuff that brings us closer to Jesus, but it's the stuff that brings us to our authentic self. People are looking for authenticity. And in the overflow of all of that, whatever passions and dreams you have, they're just the extra blessing. They're just the extra, it's the extra. It's the extra from everything. If I could say anything about my music, it would be that I'm not chasing a dream. I'm not chasing music. I'm not chasing fame. I don't want any of that stuff, to be quite honest. But I want to be where Jesus wants me to be. And I am always, what I recognize in pursuing what I am doing is that it's always been about culture. The second that I saw Kim Walker-Smith, I wanted the culture. The second that I saw Stephanie Gretzinger, even now I'm like I enjoy all of them still, but like Brandon Lake has been like his song Gratitude, right away it hits me. It's never just about the music, it's not about the lyrics, it's about the culture. So in my life has not become about surrounding myself with music and lyrics and career and dreams. It's always about the culture. This is where my music stems from. This is where my entire life stems from. It's just the culture of messy, real, safe, loving people. And this is where I am drawn to. And I guess God just, as I'm drawn to that, I throw it on paper and I put it back out there, and that's what I do.
Catherine, I love that you mentioned Kim Walker-Smith, because through the pandemic time too, her song Protector, I'd be making masks and repeat, and such healing moments. It's great that you can still sew and cry at the same time. Okay. So such healing moments in it. And in saying that, I also saw that you had posted on Facebook one of Lauren Daigle, right? Yes. You just posted that one, and wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. And I listened to both. I listened to hers and I listened to yours. And though you were singing the same song, the results were different. So it's what you're bringing, the authenticity and her authenticity to the table. You might be singing the same song, but wow. Right? So, and I love your original stuff. And I say that years ago, when you were expecting Elizabeth and you were in front of the church and singing, ready to birth Elizabeth, I've never felt so close to Mary's story than watching you up there. And I just looked at my husband and said, oh my gosh, I've got like goosebumps, because I entered into the story visually, audibly. So just encouraging, and so thankful that you picked up God's call on your life, and that singing your song first to yourself, may I suggest it may be a lament to the Lord first? And as you lament through your song to the Lord, healing comes for you first, and then you take that truth and you bring it to us.
Yes.
And protector, may I just thank you. May I just thank you for those that are receiving it.
Thank you. Yeah. I remember doing, I had written the song Altar. I think that's the song that I sent for you guys. When I wrote that song, I was listening to Stephanie Gretzinger, and she said, he just wants all of you. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, it's such a big thing. And she's like, and then she started talking about building, in the Old Testament, they always build an altar, right? Well, she started talking about, she's like, for every little thing, build an altar. And I just remember, I don't know why, it hit me in such a different way that when she said it was like, oh my gosh, that's the missing link. I am not building enough altars. And I just remember I went to the cemetery here in Chelmsford, and I had never been there before, like to see it before. There was like Jesus on the cross, and there was like an area for people to sit, and I thought, oh my gosh, I had no idea this was here. I went to the cross, and I screamed at it. I was so mad. I was so, like, there was just so much going on, and I didn't know how to express it. I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know how to release it. So I just went to God, and I just said, okay, you know what? Like, I just let it all out, cried, screamed, did my thing. And then when I came back, and I thought, okay, this is it. I'm going to build an altar for every little thing. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it be like, God, I need $10, let it be an altar. And so when I wrote the song Altar, it was like, it just says, like, in the first verse, it says, like, I'm laying down my life. You're the answer to my strife. You're all that I need. And you're my clarity. And then I say, like, I've searched, I've gone, like, I've tried, I've searched everywhere, and there is no other place that has the clarity that you have. And so I just remember writing that song and bringing every little thing that was hurting me, that I knew that I couldn't, that there's things that when you're hurting, you're responsible for, where you have to take action and, and kind of, do the work. But there was things I couldn't take action. I couldn't be responsible for what's happening in the world. I can't be responsible for all of those things. So I just thought, okay, for the things I can't be responsible for, God, the things that I can't change, then I'm building an altar. So that's where the song came out, was like, when I say, like, the world is so confused and nobody knows what to do, and we're all just pushing through. It's not like anybody has a right or wrong answer in this case. We're pushing through, and God, we need your clarity. We need you to come. We're your people. Whether you are saved or not saved, we're your people, and we need you to come, and we need your clarity, and we need your vision. And so it just came from that. And then when I was finished writing, it was a slow song. And I am putting it on the album as a slow song, because the album that I'm writing is just very broken down, because I want people to see the place that I'm coming from when I write songs. When I wrote the song, I was just in a place where it was like, okay, I realize that we need you. I realize that there are some things that I cannot change. There's some things I can't be responsible for, and I needed to let them all go. So I wrote the song saying, like, I'm building an altar to you. And it was a place where I could just start letting things go. And I guess that was the process of how Altar went. And then when I brought it to the studio, my recording guy is like, you know what, we collaborated, and he's like, I see this being like we put the song into a fast pop, kind of slow but fast kind of version of it. That was very beautiful, and it opened up another aspect of my writing and of my creativity that I could, like, explore. Most of my songs come from that, that deep place with God, just in, like, prayer and suffering and all of that, all of the fun stuff.
Catherine, there's so many things that you've said that are just so truthful, and I want to touch on a couple of them. The first thing was how we have to know our identity. We have to know who we are. I think that's so important. And the fact that everyone, the feeling that we have, everyone is watching us, and that we can put that aside and know that the only one who matters is our God. I think that was an important message. The next thing I want to touch on is you've mentioned a lot about the writing process and writing words. As a musician, do you find that the words come first, I would assume, and then the melody comes afterwards? Like, what's that kind of process for you as you're, ruminating and thinking about and really doing a study in yourself with those words? Does then the melody come afterwards for that?
Yeah, for me, it comes together. When I know that it's time to sit down and to let this out, um, I will write. I will just put my hands on like a chord, and then all of a sudden it just comes out. It's just I think it more comes out as a prophetic song each time before I just don't sit down and start writing. What I do, like, throughout the first, I would say, as I'm processing life, I'm always in a journal. So I'm always writing life. So I guess I'm always writing things down about my life. But then when it comes to writing a song, to physically writing the song, I sit down at the piano and I will just play a chord and I'll just start singing. I'll just start singing how I'm feeling, and all of a sudden the music and the song come, and it comes quick. It's a long process to get to that point, but it's usually just me prophetically singing before the Lord, and then and then the song just comes out from that. And my daughter always says, "Mom, I don't understand. Like, you write a song in 5 minutes, and how does it sound so beautiful? How do you get those words all out?" I'm like, "Well, it's the process of the 2 or 3 months of writing in the journal and living the moment." And then there's always a little bit of like musical tweaking after I've like finished a song. And same with like word tweaking. It's like, oh, okay, well, I don't particularly like that word, or want a different word. Or I know Superwoman had a swear in it when I first wrote it, and I'm like, well, I get that in that moment I was trying to express a feeling, and I couldn't find a better word than this word that I had used. And I had gone I let it took me about a month, and it was just one word, and I thought maybe I should just keep it in there. I know um it's not great for the Christian community, and I don't want to start writing music that doesn't that's not good for both sides, because I love both. I love both sides of the music industry. So I kept singing the song, and I couldn't find, it was like, for a lack of better word, I couldn't find a better word than this swear word to express how I was feeling. So finally, when it was time, I sat down and I was just singing a song over myself, and all of a sudden, the Lord gave me a better language to how to express myself without having that in there, because it's not in my nature to use vulgar language. I mean, sometimes it happens there, but so I didn't want that to be part of my character when I'm showing people who I am, right? So, but that's how it goes. I usually sit down at the piano. It's not a long process when it comes to the piano, and I just it starts off as a prophetic song. I'm just praying to the Lord, singing to God, or just explaining to Him how my day is going, and then I write the song.
Thank you. It's so great hearing how different people, do that process. So thank you. That was wonderful just to get an insight into that. And my last question is, I assume, just from what you've shared so far, that most of your writing comes from a place of maybe troubled times or despair, or things you're trying to figure out. Do they also come from a place of joy?
Well, so I guess I would say the last probably 7 or 8 years of my life um, have been me processing a lot. I've just been on this journey with myself, like a growth journey. And I'm not saying that there hasn't been joy, because I found the most joy in the past 8 years of my life that I've ever found, because it's whole, it's true, it's real. It's authentic joy. It's not positivity. It's authentic. And so I've had a lot of joy come through the suffering, but I would say that the reason why I'm recording this album um, is because of all of the process of the pain that I've gone through in the past 7 or 8 years. So I would say this particular album is based on I would say it would be an encouraging album for those who are going through hard times, that there is at the end of the tunnel, because there actually really is, And I mean, when you're going like 6, 7, 8 years and you're not seeing the light, oh, you can think like there is no light. I don't know what the people are talking about, but the light doesn't exist. I'm saying that the light does exist, and that's why this album is the last 7 years of my life, which is a long time to go through difficult times. But I can see, so yeah, I've written about my difficult times, but inside of the hard times, the chorus is always the positive message in it, and the bridge is always the answer. So there is never just like, it comes out of place of despair, but there's always joy found in it. So I guess in every song would be like, this is from a hard place, but this is where the joy is. I did write one song. I was also like dealing with an autoimmune issue since I was 27. So I remember this one time where I just was so sick, and I felt the Lord say, write me a praise song. And I was like I'm so super sick. And he's like, yeah, but this will make you feel better. And I wrote this song called You Make Me Feel Love. And it's a love song saying like it's just like I said, like, I just got this feeling my lover's in my room, and you make my heart go like totally crazy. You make me feel love. So I wrote this fast, joyful song in this time where I was suffering very deeply in pain over this autoimmune thing. And this is why I wanted to get it out on the album, because I'm entering a different phase and a different stage in life where I'm not sure, now that I've accepted that this is the course that I'm going into as far as career wise, and just the songs are going to look different. The songs are, I think there's going to be less of that painful experience, and this is going to be a more joyful sound. So I wanted to captivate this, because this is real life too, but so is the next stage of my life. So it's going to be probably completely different than what this album is going to look like.
Sign me up for it, Catherine.
Catherine, I was just wondering, thinking back to what you've shared with us today about being that young girl with big dreams, and thinking, oh no, this is too big, and really being unsure how to go forward. Some of our viewers may be like that and have big dreams. Would you have a word of encouragement for them as to how they might develop, how they might invest in their big dreams, how they might be encouraged when they're facing all of these open doors?
I guess I would just say, like, depending on the dream, number one, don't give up, and you always have to be practicing at it to get better at it. So find a few places where you can grow with your gift. I had very many. There was a lot of open doors, and I would say to go through them. I would say go through each and every single open door, because that is the only way that you're going to know which one you're supposed to be in, which one you're not supposed to. And then there's times where I call my friends and I'm like, you know what? I have so many open doors, and I can't go through all of them. So, and I talk it out, because to be honest, you can't go through all of the open doors, but then there's some doors that you're going to have to close for seasons, because you're going to have a focus, because if you don't focus on something, then nothing is going to get done, and one thing that I remember that I wanted to mention is that what I'm learning to be so true in my life is that I'm in a relationship with Holy Spirit. So if I am doing my part And I am taking that step forward to build an altar, to go and talk to God, and tell him. I'm constantly reminded of Moses. You know, Moses went to God for everything. It was even the littlest things. Like, he was up there on that mountain. He's like, hey, what do you want me to do about this? So this is what I'm learning. I'm just, you know, for everything, I just like, do your part. Do not be lazy about it. You have to do your part. Don't wait on God, because God has put this inside of you. So you need to take action, but you also need to say, okay, God, I took action in this area. I need you to meet me here. So, and for him to do his part, to be in constant relationship with him. But on a practical note, I found myself a recording studio. I found myself an acting studio. And I put myself in at Laurentian University because I knew that I was to be in this area, like media, writing, and music. So I found outlets to be able to pursue that and to invest in myself. And so I would say that find the places, take the time, use the money to invest in yourself, in your gift, because it's going to pay off in the end. To anybody that's watching that, just, you know, that has that dream, I just want to say that it is never, make a plan, but it is never going to go as you think. Like the dream is always going to be there, but just don't be discouraged if it doesn't go how you think, because just an example is when I went to start a Laurentian, so I had an issue with identity theft. And I was supposed to, a couple of months ago, I was going to Laurentian, but I was also going to take the Bethel Music Artistry School on the side in the evenings, because I'm just in pursuing that area of my giftings. And everything was set up, but then the identity theft happened, and then it ended up freezing all my accounts, and then all of my financial accounts were frozen, and then I wasn't able to pay for Bethel. And so there was all of this happened, and Bethel waited for me, and I'm like, it's coming, and just give me a week. It took 3 months for this to be resolved. And it was a really hard struggle to know that, like, I had a plan, you know, I had a plan to move forward with this, and I was so excited. And then and to have that financial problem happen, and then to not be able to go to Bethel at that time was difficult. Like, it was really difficult. But what the Lord had shown me is that it's not always going to work out the way you plan, because you are not involved in just yourself. There are other people, you know, you're doing life and you're dancing with everybody. So just hang in there. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It just means that it's going to happen later. And in the season of that, I learned some really super good financial principles. So there's always a reason, there's always a timing, and just don't be discouraged, and don't quit. Do not quit. Never quit.
Thank you so much. And Catherine, we just want to express our appreciation for the time you have taken to come and share your story with us today. We feel like we know you so much better now, and we are friends together and sharing together our journeys, and it makes it so much richer.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today at Recovering Your Voice, and we thank Catherine again for being our guest. If you have questions for Catherine, or if you have questions for us, if you want a dream interpretation, if you want to be on the show, we ask you to write us at recoveringyourvoice@gmail.com. And until we meet again, keep sharing your story. Mine?
I just turned mine up. All sound issues resolved. Like, I was looking and thinking, what does she have in her hand?
So you didn't even have that on?
No, it was on, but it was on low.
Okay, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
that's
that really
funny.
affects. Yes. I'm just trying that toggle right now. It's amazing
Okay,
when you find out how to really do things properly.
Well, we
that's
didn't do
why
anything weird, did we?
I don't
Like
know.
when you were talking.
We had a few little, I think we'll be okay. Yeah.
you have a 2/3 chance of not having something weird on here. That's all I'm going to say. Okay.
You know
True.
what? A part of, I think, what people like is the authenticity. We're real. Weird is okay.
We can tell
Yeah.
our girls feeling better. It's great to have you.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so good to be back.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave and come back. So I'll just leave you in charge, Colette.
Silly girl.
I saw your husband this morning. He's like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "I'm ready." He's like, "They're gonna drill you." I said, "Okay, fine, drill me."
And you still
I,
came on. That's
I
fantastic.
did. I still showed up.
So we're going to dive right into your story,
Sure.
if that's okay with you. And we won't be drilling or grilling or anything.
Okay.